It's never a straight line to go from your idea to make it happen. It's all about people and execution. I always hate when people are like, oh, I had an idea, I wrote it on a napkin with a buddy at a bar, and now I'm on my yacht. Like, that's all bullshit. Like, it's never a straight line. There's always speed bumps and left turns that just keep going left. If you're truly grateful and humble, people are happier and more giving than I am truly grateful. I return the favor as often and as many times as I can. People are really important. You can do anything with the right people. I've always got fired from all my jobs. My jobs were not like, anything crazy, but it was like, I was at an ice cream shop, like an ice cream store. I saw my first paycheck after 2 weeks. I'm like, this is it? And then I was eating the ice cream and they found me eating the ice cream because I was like a little fat chubby kid. Yeah. And then they fired me. You can teach skill, but you can't teach attitude. So it's important to weed people in and weed them out as fast as possible.
The funny thing to me is everyone wants to be a leader because it sounds so great. It's actually being a leader actually means you're responsible for the work of other people and for their results. So you're being held accountable for other people's work.
Company culture equals the people. So your job as a leader and hire the right people from the beginning and everyone else you hire from there. If we're all aligned and we're all good people, then that's the company culture.
As a serial entrepreneur, I'm always trying to evolve. Having great conversations with other high performers is one of the best ways to grow. Not only in business, but also in spirit, health, and relationships. This is Svencast. Listen, grow, repeat. Welcome, everybody. We are now live with John Vitti, founder and CEO of VersusGame. Welcome, John.
Hi, Sven. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. VersusGame is a betting platform on which pretty much anyone can, like any private person, can choose a topic and create a bet, versus, someone, some outcome will win, some outcome will lose, who will win the presidency or who's the most hated, Logan or Jake Paul or something like that. Those who pick the right one will make money, and so will the creator of that game. And this could also be an end user of VersusGame. Did I get that correctly?
Yeah, you got it all down correctly. It's a prediction game where you get paid for being right. So our mission is, we're trying to reward people for their knowledge. Why not, right? Because we're making predictions all day long. We're consuming all this content. Right, all day long, we naturally form opinions and predictions off that content. Well, that's going to happen over here. What's going to happen with Dogecoin or this movie or this stock, whatever it is, right? But when was the last time you made money off of Cardi B or your favorite song on Spotify? So now you can.
Yeah, that I like that. That's pretty amazing. It's nowadays there is so much additional knowledge through social media. And there is social media, let's say celebrities that YouTubers, we mentioned Jake and Logan Paul, that came up from social media. And of course, it's new knowledge that can be betted on, which is very, very cool. And for me, it's very interesting because being a software platform entrepreneur myself since 10 years, I'm very impressed with the idea. This idea of this interaction with the popular culture background. It's very impressive. How did you come up with that idea, and did you come up with that idea?
It's something that people have. So thank you, and it's something that people have been doing since the beginning of time. It's primal. We can't stop doing it. It's the reptilian part of our brain. So I didn't come up with that reaction, but I came up with the idea of, let's make a fair and fun platform for everybody and be inclusive and put real money in real people's pockets. And just looking at human behavior, we're already doing this. And we're doing it for fun and maybe some side money here and there, just with a friend, right? I'll bet you $1, I'll bet you $10. But there's no ecosystem that has evolved from that primal place. And I think it's about, the execution, about the timing. And it's all this water cooler talk, right? Of LinkedIn's going to do this and Bitcoin's going to do that. And it's we're the ones using all these services and products. we're the ones that should be getting rewarded for that too, instead of just spending the money on a Spotify, right? It's just in my head, I'm like, this is crazy. And then I was thinking, well, what's cool and a little crazy and outdated is that my bank account is attached to the market, the free market, right? Wall Street, all these people. So I think that's a little old school. I want my bank account to be tied to this, just my head, right? Mm-hmm. So while everyone was like losing their shirts on Bitcoin and still are, and I'm in that camp too, I'm able to make money on VersusGame about the trajectory of Bitcoin because it's just about me and what my knowledge is. So I think that's really fascinating. I think it's just a natural evolution.
Okay, so these are your ideas behind it, like the concept. I would, like, from my experience, I would expect a lot of, let's say, regulatory issues. You know, like if you want to start a business like that, probably you need a lot of, you know, licenses from the government, or how does that work? Is that like from the legislation standpoint, is that like a casino business, or how does the US government see that?
Yeah, so legally we're not classified as betting. Legally we're classified as skill-based gaming. So there were a lot of regulations and paperwork and lawyers to talk to, and it was very time-consuming and expensive. So it's definitely a high hurdle to jump into something like this. Because a lot of companies and startups, they'll look at a DraftKings, which is great, and they'll look at them and say, I'm going to do something like that with my twist, and I'm off to the races. But they run afoul of the law. So we actually don't fall under DraftKings. We fall under a company named Skills with a Z. They went public for around $10 or $11 billion a few months ago in the US. So we don't need any gaming licenses or gambling license or sports betting licenses, things like that. So we're in all the app stores. We advertise everywhere. We work with all the payment providers and banks and credit card companies. We're international, so we've architected it this way from the beginning, and there's 99 reasons why we've done it this way, and it makes us legit. And so now we're just loud and proud.
I see. Yeah, I mean, did you anticipate those kind of things? Because I feel like, you know, there is a fun part in business and there is a not so fun part in business, and things like that. Is like,
did you know that? I knew that there's going to be some. I did not, like, to be transparent, I did not know the degree and level and depth that I would have to go to make sure this is done the right way. Because there's a lot of shortcuts people can take, and I don't want to do that, and I didn't. So I learned a lot about the law, and I learned how expensive the law is. But I'm glad I did it. But it's one of those things where you kind of knew, as an entrepreneur going into something, you knew, like, oh, this is going to be something. This is going to be a thing, but you don't know how big a thing it's going to be until you get, you know, neck deep in the water. You're like, okay, time to figure it out.
So, as far as I know, you have raised like about $6 million in cash for your company as funding, right?
Maybe like 12 million or something,
12 million, okay. And it was like by people like Scooter Braun and like some famous names.
Some amazing people, like,
How did you get in contact with them, and how did you get them on board? I can't imagine it's not that easy.
No, I am very grateful to know, like, the Illuminati, like pioneers, game changers. Like, they've created industries. And I'm extremely grateful and lucky. I smack myself in the face a few times every day for many different reasons, but one of them is I can't believe I'm a part of this and know these people. The how, I think it was, you know, two things. I think it's having a really good idea with some traction. And then, and then basically, like, without that, I mean, no one's going to care. And then it's just networking. Like, one person introduced me to two people. Those two people introduced me to one person. And that one person introduced me to three people. And it kind of just like caught on. And I think if you're truly grateful and humble, I think people are happier and more giving and of their network. And I'm a person who's seen both sides of it. As far as money and, upbringing and all that kind of stuff. And I am truly grateful. So I return the favor as often and as many times as I can. And I'm, whatever I can do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So like from the viewpoint of someone who wants to start a business, so you have this great idea. I think a lot of people come to that point, but like, what were your next steps? Like, how did you like build it up?
Yeah. So it's never what I learned. It's never a straight line to go from your idea to whatever, like to make it happen. So it's all about people and execution. So what happened was after day one of, okay, here's the idea, you go out and start talking to people about it, trying to get their feedback. And then you go and try to build some kind of MVP version of this with no customers, just, trying to build something out. So did that. And then we got some customers on there, like some users, and, did that a few times and iterated and changed things. So we pivoted, as people call it. And then we started locking in on an idea through feedback and data. And then we said, you know what, let's draw the line in the sand and use the data and our intuition. So quantitative and qualitative data, and said, here's what we're going to do. And then we went out and found like the most amazing CTO and co-founder, and he brought his dev team on board, like heavy hitters, studs. And they really turned this to the next level. And then we got more users, and then added more features, and then brought on the business side recently. So it was step by step, and it was a very non-straight line, very, very curved line. It's the way it is. I always hate when people are like, oh, I had an idea. I wrote it on a napkin with a buddy at a bar, and now I'm on my yacht. Like, that's all bullshit. Like, it's never a straight line. There's always speed bumps and left turns that just keep going left for a while,
This is funny because I have exactly the same story with Digistore 24. Like it was an idea, and what I did was like I went on, like I'm not a software developer, but I had this concept, and I knew the market would need it. I got some feedback, of course, and then I went on this platform that's now called Upwork, and back then it was Elance, like for freelancers, and I tried I tried to pick like the most trustworthy software development company. I just exited another company. It was an information product company where we sold, dating advice and fat loss advice, etc., etc. And nice. I bet all my money like on that project. I hired a company from India, and they had the most, testimonials, etc., the most positive testimonials, like thousands of them. And I was like, okay, let's try this. I built a prototype, but like with this external team, it totally failed. Like it didn't work. Like, okay, it was a prototype which you can like play around with and click on, but you couldn't, like, it wasn't really usable. And then like I kept talking to more people, and then met like the CTO guy who's an amazing programmer. And in that case, it was a Christian Neise. He's a generalist, which means he can do a little bit of everything, like from administration, front end, back end, database, blah, blah, blah. Because like he was also an entrepreneur, like programming his own browser games. And this is nice. And he understood that the idea was great, and he just joined and like made it happen so that we could like have our first MVP version that we could present to customers, really, and to have them use it, which is cool. Like this is a very authentic story, and our are, yeah. And of
But
course,
I challenge you.
Yeah.
I challenge you. Here's the question: did that first external team that did it, that created that product, did it fail? Was it useless? Because what I found out was that we took that and spent time, money on it, and ultimately all that code, all that design and UI is in the trash right now for us.
Yeah.
But it was an iterative process. We built on that first piece of garbage, and then that made a less smelly piece of garbage. And then I was like, okay, here's an average piece of garbage, and then here's a better piece of garbage, and here, this isn't garbage at all. And then you deprecate all that code and all that design, but without that first piece of poop, you know, you can't. I think it's like all useful is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's never like, oh man, I failed.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, the answer is yes and no. Like, we could use it as like the new CTO and head programmer to understand what it's about and what it should look like and how it should function, how it's supposed to function. So it's like a huge documentation / description of the functionality, etc., etc. And he literally said, okay, I understand this. I understand perfectly what it's about. You will see me in 6 weeks. Don't talk to me unless I asked you questions. And he hardly had any question, and he came out with the perfect product. So for that, it wasn't poop, but it was perfect. It was golden, was diamonds, because this was
Great.
amazing.
You learn from it.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
from the
technical from.
Yeah, from the technical perspective, like the software code and these things, the code was useless because it had a lot of duplicate code. Like, for example, usually you would have modules, for example, VAT calculation module. And for a lot of, let's say, business and purchase cases, that module would be needed. VAT calculation module. And what they did, the guys from India, they would they wouldn't just have one module, but just copy and paste it over and over again, so that you have hundreds of the identical code pieces. And that's just not good, let's say, software quality. This is not how you do software. So that had to be redone. So it was it was not usable towards the end customer, but it was very usable for our CTO to build and understand that. And if I had to write it out on a document, on a text document, I'd probably still be writing 10 years from now. So,
I have a question for you. For you about if you could start all over again, or just instantly know how to code. Yeah. Right. How to be like a developer, to take your ideas or a designer and take your ideas and make it happen, like actually build it. Would you rather have gone down that path, knowing what you know, or not?
That's a very good question. I didn't have a chance. Okay, if you say I could program myself, then I would probably have built that prototype myself, just being the playful guy I am. I know I like to build things since I was a little kid, but because I couldn't, I just had to rely on an external team, because in order to get someone like Christian on board as a CTO, he has to believe in the idea, and he has to see and feel and touch it, because those are very, those, you know it yourself, man. Those programmer people, they're very rational. They're not the typical entrepreneur who's just a red personality and just passionate about an idea. And they're I want data. I want to be able to analyze this. Yeah. I want to predict the probability of success of that project, etc., etc. So I didn't have any other route to go, but also, So, but and how is that with you? Would you do it differently coming from now?
Oh, I mean, from all the businesses I've started and I've been a part of, I've always wished And it's on me because I never went to school for those things that are learned on myself. But I always wish that I could be a designer, or just like not. I don't want to be like a great designer because that I'm glad that I'm in my field, But I want to know more about design and more about programming, so I can help, or I can be like, hey, here's something in my brain. When I have an idea in my brain, and I have to go translate it, and it gets good. It plays a telephone game, down the line, and like they're designing the idea. There's always pieces of it that it changes no matter what.
Yeah,
I'm like, man, if I could just design this myself or build this myself, just even like a little tiny bad framework of it. It's like then I pass it on and be like, yeah, this is like the kernel, right? But one day, but I think it would be amazing to learn. Like you, I like learning everything. I like learning a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's very cool because my background is I'm a dentist, so I come from a totally different field. Yeah, so
that's awesome.
Yeah, but I at least I learned to work hard and get things done, because if you study dentistry, you actually have to create revenue for your dental clinic. Like based on that revenue, you either pass a semester or you don't. And if you don't make enough revenue, even if your work is perfect, then you're not going to pass that semester. It's very simple. So I had to do things like I had to go out and, approach random people on the street in order to get new patients. I had to do all that. Just,
Let me see your teeth.
Yeah, I had to knock on doors and stuff,
Yeah,
that
I actually still
lot.
hate. Yeah. Oh, for sure. And it's all sales. It's all business operations. I still, to this day, no offense, Sven, but I hate going to the dentist. I just went to the dentist the first time in like 11 years, like last month.
Congratulations. Oh man, I really recently had a really implant surgery thing, like the dental implant surgery thing. That was like, oh,
how does it feel now?
Oh, it's a lot better. At least I can chew now, but helps me stay on a diet because I cannot eat everything. Like, what's your background?
It's kind of the same what I'm doing now. It's basically just being an entrepreneur, starting companies, having them fail, having them succeed, learning from it. So it's all that. I've only, I was in, I'm from Boston. My parents were born and raised on a farm in Italy. They came here to Boston. I'm in San Francisco now. And then I left home at like age 17, and I started working before that, obviously, but I always got fired from all my jobs. My jobs were not like, anything crazy, but it was like, I was at an ice cream shop, like an ice cream store. And I saw my first paycheck after 2 weeks. I'm like, this is it. And then I was eating the ice cream, and they found me eating the ice cream because I was like a little fat, chubby kid. Yeah. And then they fired me. And then I went to a grocery store, and I was snacking all the stuff, drinking the chocolate milk, and they fired me. And I went to like a sandwich place, like making sandwiches for people, and then like a deli making, bread and pastry, and they fired me. And so I was like, you know what? I got to stop working at places that have food involved in them. And then I jumped out here, and I jumped into a company called Proofpoint, which is an anti-spam tech company. And I did really well there, but I was kind of like the outcast. I always felt I was young and stupid. I had a big ego, and I felt I could do things better and differently. So I never really fit in because of my strong beliefs and, whatever. And so I went off my own, and I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to jump out and start my own businesses. My first two failed miserably, and that really fixed my ego. And I wouldn't change a thing. I learned a lot. And then my last two successfully exited. And then now I was able to take some time off, and now I'm doing this company. And I think this is the most exciting and most fun company that I've been involved with.
This is great. Can you tell me about your past companies? Like, what did you try doing and what have you learned?
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to know about the failed ones?
Yeah, of course. We only learn from failures, right?
Right. No one ever asked about those. So one, you're gonna laugh now. The first one was about food. It was
okay.
Because but I didn't eat my own food though. I ate it because it's good, but I didn't take it. So I was like, you know what? I love Italian food, and I went to San Francisco, and there was this crappy Italian food, terrible. No pasta, no nothing. So I started creating a pasta company. I started selling it to restaurants and grocery stores, and it was doing fairly well. But I found out quickly that I could not scale because it was just me kneading the dough, right?
Yeah,
and delivering it. It was impossible to scale. So I learned about scale, operations, right? Services versus product. Then I jumped into, I started a company with a few friends, and that was a recruiting company because they were recruiters, like tech recruiters, software engineer recruiters, like job recruiters. And I was like, I'll help. And we jumped in, we started this thing, like the three of us. And I found out quickly that people are the biggest, most important asset you have because they had day jobs. I was in it full time, ready to go. They didn't have the same interests in hustle and mentality and different goals. And so I was like, all right, that didn't work out. So that failed. So I learned quickly that people are really important. You can do anything with the right people. And then the third company, which was successfully exited, it was consumer. It was men's contemporary clothing. Started that with some friends, and that was pretty good. We were doing production all over the world, shipping tankers all over. We had showrooms and sales reps all over. We were in stores in Asia, Dubai, Europe, North America. We were in Saks, Neiman's. Fred Siegel, Kitson, like all like the major, from bespoke small retailers to the biggest in the world. That was sold, that was acquired after running it for like 4 years, and then I jumped into a totally different industry, which was a tech industry, a B2B SaaS business with AI and machine learning. And I got to that point. We were basically automating sales for people that were going after local merchants. Our clients were like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Yellow Pages, Yahoo. They had thousands of sales reps selling ads and websites and whatever, right? And they were doing it in a pretty not productive way. It didn't pencil out financially with a human. So we automated a piece of that and sometimes all of that. And the reason why I came up with that idea for a company is because my last company, because I was a local merchant and I would live in these I was always visiting these stores too. And I saw what happened, these newspaper sales reps and Yahoo sales reps and Google, they all call and visit and just interrupt their day. And like, hey, this is what we have, blah, blah, blah. And I saw the reaction. I felt the reaction. I was like, oh, there's got to be a better way than this. So I had that idea cooking. And then when it was acquired, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start this thing to help bridge that gap. And so that was that fourth company was eventually acquired. And then through all those experiences and learnings and what I mentioned before, which is all this water cooler talk, and I can't buy a piece of Google, it's too late. Like it's not going to be worth, unless you have millions of dollars, right? So that's what formed this company. So it all tied together.
I can imagine you learned a lot about recruiting people, and like if you come from this recruiting company, like what's your, especially in the tech field, and especially in the US, it's super hard to do because you're competing with all these software companies, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, all these cool companies that are so shiny. How can you even compete with that, like from a recruiter standpoint?
So there's one big key is that you need to be a good person and obviously, and have a big, crazy vision. But but on the execution side, you want to hire a queen and a king that know all the people. They already have them in their back pocket. They already are friends with them, right? So if you go and hire a CTO and she has an amazing background, and she'll just make some calls, and then all of a sudden your dev team is filled. That's what happened with us, and because we've never worked with a recruiter. But we've learned a lot along the way, on interviewing people, that are brought in through friends. Like we had, like one person referred a designer, then the CTO brought in all his and her, engineers. It all just kind of worked like this. The one of the investors is like, here are some more people on the business side. A company that we partner up with is like, here's your VP of sales, right? And like, I'm like, oh my God, this is great. But we've learned that you can teach skill, but you can't teach attitude. So it's very over the years, for my time of being a, entrepreneur. So it's important to like weed people in and weed them out as fast as possible.
I see. Yeah, that's. I have similar experiences. We did not have we have a technical team of 60 people. They're mostly in Europe. Most marketing and sales people are in the US actually with us. And for us, it was really we had to work with headhunters and also recruit them. Like it wasn't like, oh, there's this headhunter, and you also have to have a recruiting process for them, and they have to get to know you very well, so that you know what you're looking for, that they know what you're looking for, and it was also a big learning curve, and we failed with multiple teams. Like we had a history, so we would start side projects. Like I remember the core was built by our genius CTO, and he wouldn't let anyone touch it because could break and stuff. So we had to create new products that we would let new teams on, experimented with that, and see if we can if we're even able at this point in time to bring teams together that can actually produce results and in a quality that's maintainable. Because it's one thing to build something, it's another thing to maintain it and to get rid of bugs. This requires the software code to be really, let's say, clean. Otherwise no one can find anything inside there, not even the programmer himself
tech
or herself.
Yeah.
So yeah, tech debt is terrible. And there we still have some tech debt in some in this side project that we started. Yeah. So yeah, that's really
the reason why you have tech debt is because you hustle to get things done. It's not a bad thing. You built an MVP, and some worked, some didn't, and then you gotta keep going and move. You're not going to be rewarded. The market's not going to reward you for going slow, right?
No.
So then you have this tech thing because it's natural, and okay, let's deal with it. It's part of it.
And there's a balance, because at the same time you have to refactor the code. So that means cleaning up tech debt. You have to refactor the code over time so that you can be faster later. So it's a balance. Yeah. It's really
there's a certain point where it's too much and you have to just fix it, and then But then you go on and there's more tech. You create more tech debt even though you have a clean slate. It's part of business, it's fine.
Yeah. Did you hire your developers in the US, or are they from other countries?
Both. We started before COVID, the whole quarantine and stay at work from home. I am a big believer of just working from wherever you want. I don't care. And now that people see that, hey, it can work. It's great. So we don't care where you are as long as you're talented and have a good attitude.
Okay, so you also have a remote company? People are not in the office, everyone's at home, or?
Yeah. Everyone's home doing their thing. We meet up once in a while, every week, before COVID, and now that COVID is kind of over. So yeah, everyone's just doing their own, working from wherever they want.
So you're the CEO. What are your, how do you see your own job within your company? How should you spend your time the most? Should you be outwardly focused, inwardly focused towards the team and, let's say, managing them? Or should you be more do visionary work? How do you see that?
I like to do no management of people. I help manage products and projects, but I do not manage people. We don't bring people on that need management. That's a whole different thing. But yeah, you balance it. It's some internal and some external. My job internally is to help manage products, projects, and unblock people. Help. I just help people. If you have a problem, come to me. I will help. Whatever obstacles you have, I just want to help people and make sure it's you can do your job. And then, yeah, on the vision strategy side about the product and all that kind of stuff, absolutely. Externally, I'm just kind of like a mouthpiece talking to people, sharing our story, sharing our vision. Yeah, exactly. Like on this podcast, talking to investors, talking to a lot of potential partners and current partners. So that channel, I'm trying to amplify it. You amplify it through things like you, Sven, and things like investors, things like media, things like partnerships, things with celebrities. However, we can amplify it. So I'm just trying to. I just talk a lot, basically.
Sure. Yeah, I see. Like your biggest strength, one of your biggest strengths, I think, is that you can recruit the right people. So you have this all. So you have the ability to not having to manage people because you find the right people. Like, can you share some of your strategies of finding and attracting and also recognizing those people? Like, because you get a lot of applicants and then you have to identify them and the mindset and stuff.
It's about finding people that are already in a startup, right? We're a startup. Finding people that are already leaders in their world. If they're already leaders, if they're already like, hands-on leader, hands-on exec or whatever, then that's who we bring on board. And then they are hopefully excited about what we're doing and they get their hands dirty as well. Cause everyone, is like their own coach of their own team that's small and they're part of that team too. They're the player as well. So they come up with, we want to make sure we interview it with like, hey, what are your ideas? What's your vision? What's your strategy? And then can you execute on your own strategy and ideas and vision? Right? Because we're all doing that.
I see. So
they check off those boxes during the interview process, and that's what gets us excited.
I see. Yeah. So I met a lot of people in job interviews where they would tick all the boxes, but they still, like, some of them had, quite a lot of them had trouble delivering it. Like, yeah, of course I have a vision. Of course I am a leader. Of course I know what good processes are. Of course I can execute on all of them. But like, that didn't always happen. So for me, it was, I had to ask more specifically, like, how do you do it, or how would you do it, or how did you do it? Like, if someone gives me an example, then I need to really get deep into the nitty gritty and really ask, but how? But how do you solve this problem? How do you solve that problem?
Right.
Okay, you're a great leader. You have a great vision. But what if your team is not producing the results? Like, the funny thing to me is, like, everyone wants to be a leader, seemingly, because it sounds so great and it has such a great status. But it's actually, for me, being a leader actually means you're responsible for the work of other people and for their results. So you're being held accountable for other people's work. And that's quite hard. And in some ways, honestly, I think also it somehow sucks, because sometimes things go wrong and you're responsible and you weren't fully aware, or you should have been. And so it's really also hard for me to really find out if someone, for example, is really a good leader or not. What are your thoughts?
Well, one way that I feel you, and I've made a bunch of mistakes in this in my career. What I've discovered is that looking at, because people can just say whatever they want to say, right? And then, but you have to look at what proves it is the proof, is the actual work. So you look at their jobs. And those reference calls that people either don't do or just, okay, great, thanks, bye. like a 2-minute reference call about like, did he work for you or whatever? Like you really want to build a relationship with that reference and then talk to them and really dig in and ask questions. And almost you're basically re-interviewing like all those questions you asked. What happens if that your team failed, or you missed numbers, or what happens, what kind of whatever, right? You ask those same questions to get that back channel to the referrer, to the person that is doing the reference check, basically. It really opens up things if you first build that relationship with them instead of just like quickly reading off a list. It's like, no, you got to like have a real human contact, and connection. Yeah. And then they open up, and that's been wildly important for me.
I see. Yeah. Another thing is keeping actually those great people. So I think especially in a remote company where a lot of people are working from home, just like in our company, it's quite a challenge to keep a company culture up and to keep those people. Like, how do you see company culture and let's say great people retention?
We have kept 100% of the people we brought on. So we're very fortunate. I think that has to do with us aligning on the vision right away, and the company culture, right? Which the company culture at the end of the day just means like company culture equals the people. Yeah. So if you do your job as a leader and hire the right people from the beginning, and everyone else you hire from there, if we're all aligned and we're all good people, then that's the company culture. And why wouldn't you want to keep working with people that you like and that you align with on the vision and you're excited about the product, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like it's never a siloed situational, like this is just what, how do we retain people? It actually goes all the way, it's all attached to each other. It's all a web.
I see. Do you have like specific rituals in the company, like, for example, virtual meetups with a certain topic, or like virtual coffee breaks, or something like that?
We meet all the time, on like Google Meets and Zoom, for work stuff. But we're always joking. Now that the world has opened up again. I wasn't even able to meet some of the new hires that we had recently since COVID. So we all went to we met up in LA. We met up in Miami. We went to the UFC fight. UFC is a partner of ours. So it's like they hooked us up with some tickets. So we bring it together and have too many drinks and too much food and have fun. But yeah, and we want to get together like once a quarter, and we fly everybody out, and we want to start doing that again, because we did that before COVID, because we were working remote before COVID still. But yeah, no, nothing like, virtual coffee breaks. People just take their coffee breaks. You can go. I don't care. We don't care about schedules. We don't care about where you work. We just care about that you're an awesome person and you're kicking ass. Okay, so
you basically your management style is pretty much like, okay, there's certain goals, and you just have to meet the goals, and how you get there is like up to you. Is that correct?
100%. Okay, cool. Because we're hiring leaders that are also to execute on their ideas. It's like, I'm not going to go tell some stud that's better at this than I'll ever be, how to do it or when to do it. Just go do it,
I see. Yeah, this is like, may I ask how many people are working in your company?
Yeah, it's small. We're a small startup. We're at 24 people strong now.
That's cool.
Trying to get to 30.
Congratulations. I think when you grow like over 100 and 100 plus, it becomes a little bit like more difficult, because like at some point you won't know everyone anymore, really. Yeah. And like, you won't know everyone, like most of them, yes, sure, and you really have to make an effort to kind of recognize them and see them, and that's a bit scary about a growing company, but also like it will be a lot of fun. So for as like a final thing, I would love you to give like your 3 best tips for people who either starting a business or wanting to start a business. Like what are your 3 best diamonds for that?
It would be the people are the most important thing you have. Surround yourself with amazing people. It would be, embrace the grind. I know that might be cliche, but it's so important. Like you literally have to, it's a grind. And if you don't love it, if you don't appreciate it, if you aren't in love with it, not just you to love it, but you have to actually be in love with it. Yeah. Then this is not, you have to really embrace the grind. And then just know that it's not a straight line and it's all going to get figured out, Okay.
So you just have to trust and you follow your passion, basically.
Yeah. And surround yourself with good people. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's never easy. So
John, if someone wants to get in touch with you or learn more about your company, how can they do that?
Well, we are in all the app stores. Just go to VersusGame in the app store, or you can go to versusgame.com and check it out. We also have an Instagram page. It's called VersusGame. And you can just reach out through there or through the site or through the app. We're always around to help. So we're here to make you money. So enjoy.
Fantastic. Thank you. And what kind of people are you looking for? Are you looking for mainly users of the platform? Are you looking for investors? Are you looking for staff? What are you looking for?
Oh, everything. But mostly, people that want to play, test their knowledge, people that want to create games, which is basically just asking a question. Like what's going to happen with, the BBMAs, the show, right? Or the MTV Music Awards. It's those types of people.
I see. And how much money? We're always of course. and how much money can someone make, like, for example, creating a game?
Oh,
on average.
We have individuals like Josh Richards who's making $2 million a year with us just by asking questions to his audience. Thousands, tens of thousands of dollars a week, a month, depending on, what games you ask and how big your audience is. But I mean, even losers like me that have 1,000 followers on Instagram, I still can make like $50, per game. And then that's more than I could have done in the past. So all these creators and influencers are always complaining, I can't monetize on TikTok or on Snap, or Instagram without ads. And now for the first time ever, you can directly monetize your content, your audience in a fun, natural way without ads and make real money. Yeah.
I think that's really amazing because like these monetization, sometimes I pity influencers they can just, advertise some product. But if you can make something like that with your platform VersusGame, I think that's awesome. That's amazing. It adds a lot of value, not only to the consumers, but also to the influencers, I think, if they want to monetize their audience. That's amazing. John, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the insights and for the awesome talk. I'm sure people are going to get a lot of value out of it. I'm already looking forward to our next conversation.
Let's do it. Thank you, Sven. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode of Svencast again.